Welcome to tonight's video on Chapter 4, Section 1, talking about how to classify triangles. And there's a couple different ways we can classify triangles. The first way is by their angles. So there are four types of triangles by their angles. There is an acute triangle, which means all three angles are acute. For example, if it was 50, 60, and 70, that would be an acute triangle. Equiangular triangle is where all three angles are congruent. Obtuse triangle is where you have one obtuse angle. For example, if you had 100 here, and then you had 50 and 30. So the one obtuse angle would make it an obtuse triangle. And then a right triangle has one right angle. All right, so the first question says to classify the triangle as acute, equiangular, obtuse, or right. Well, notice all three angles are the same. They're all 60 degrees. So this is an equiangular triangle. This one here, notice you have one obtuse angle, so it's an obtuse triangle. Here it says classify X, Y, Z, the whole thing as acute, equiangular, obtuse, or right. And notice if you add 50 plus 40 here, you get 90, which means that it's right, because angle XYZ is a right angle. Here, this is an acute triangle, because all three angles are acute. The other way you can classify triangles is by their sides. If they have three congruent sides, it's equilateral. If there's two congruent sides or more, it's isosceles. And if there's no congruent sides, it's scalene. Now understand that an equilateral triangle is a type of isosceles triangle, but not all isosceles triangles are equilateral. They only have to have at least two congruent sides. So if point Y is the midpoint of Vx, so point Y is the midpoint, which means it divides it into two equal parts. So that means you have 4.2 and 4.2. And WY is 3.0, so basically 3. Classified VWY as equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. Well, notice they're all three different sides, so it is scalene, because all three sides have different measures. All right, so here, if point C is the midpoint of BD, so that means these two are the same. That means it's 1.7 and 1.7. And this is 1.2 here. So it says ABC as equilateral, isosceles, or scalene. Well, two sides are congruent, but the third one is not. So that means it's isosceles. So here it says to find the measures of the sides of an isosceles triangle with base KL. So if you have an isosceles triangle here, the two congruent sides are what are called legs, and the non-congruent side is the base. All right, so that means the KL is not congruent to the other two, so these two are. So that means 12 minus D has to equal 4D minus 13. So you add D, so you get 5D. You add 13, so you get 25. So 5 equals D. And then you want to find the measures of the sides. So KL is equal to 11 because 5 plus 6. KM is equal to 4 times 5 minus 13, which is 7. And so will LM equal 7. All right, so the next question says find x and the measure of each side of the equilateral triangle. So they're all three the same. So that means that all the sides must be equal. So you can set any two equal to each other and solve for x. So here I get 5x and then add 8, so I get equals 15, and x equals 3. And so now you have to figure out what the sides are. Well, 7 plus 3 is 10, so all sides are 10. So that means it's C. All right, so let's look at these problems here. All three are the same, so this is equiangular. Notice you have an obtuse angle, so this is obtuse. You have a right triangle, so this is right, or right angle, sorry. This is acute. Obtuse angle, so it's an obtuse triangle. And then they're all acute, so it's an acute triangle. Looking at the next ones, ABE is right here, ABE. And you do not know, you know that this is 8, so this is 8, and that's 8. And that's 8, and that's 8. So ABE is scalene, because none of them are the same. EDB, two of them are the same, so that means it's isosceles. EBC, EBC, well that means that it's scalene because this is 8 square root of 2, this is 8, and this is 16. DBC is equilateral. And then here, notice it says find x and the length of each side if AB is congruent to BC. So that means 4x minus 3 equals 2x plus 5. Subtract the 2x, so you get 2x, and then add the 3, equals 8. X equals 4. And then all the sides are 6, 13, and 13. All right, so here the same thing if it's equilateral, so that means they're all the same. So setting any two equal, so 3x plus 10 equals 4x plus 1. Move the 3x over, so I get x. Move the 1 over, so I get 9. And the length of each side, well, 9 times 4 is 36, plus 1 is 37, so that means they're all 37. All right, then last one here, isosceles triangle with RS equaling ST, which means 9x plus 2 is equal to 6x plus 8. Move the 6x over, so you get 3x, subtract the 2, equals 6, so x equals 2. And then when I put 2 in, I get 20, 20, and 5. Here, it's equilateral, so you can set them equal. So 2x is equal to 5x minus 21, because it's equilateral. So that means when you subtract the 2x, you get 3x, add 21. So you get 27, divide to get x equals 9. And then putting the 9 back in for one of them, So I get 24, so that means they're all going to equal 24 since it's equilateral. All right, I hope this has helped and you have a good evening. And